I'm Kim.
I'm Brad.
We're 626 Ohana, California, and today we're going to talk about our recent experiences going back to Universal Studios Hollywood.
So this is going to cover 2 trips of ours a week apart, and we'll give you some of our tips and tricks, the things we've learned going back since they reopened.
So first of all, it was so exciting to get back to a theme park and on rides.
Yeah, we haven't done that for over a year.
So that was really amazing.
So let's go ahead and start with parking. Now parking, you did have to pay for parking. Our passes actually cover general parking, or we could pay to upgrade.
It was like $7.
Yeah, so we paid for preferred parking both times. Really, when you pull in, it was fairly simple. But one thing to be on the lookout for when you do pull in is don't follow all the cars in front of you. Look at those cones, because those cones could actually be nobody in front of them. You can pull right in. And the second time we pulled in, we were the second car in, where other cars had about 5 or 6 cars in front of them.
When you're lining up for the ticket booths. I should clarify, not parked in the car.
Yeah. And so it was great. Preferred parking puts you into the Frankenstein lot. If you pay for the expensive parking, which is, I think, $50.
That's in front of the theme park. We didn't do that. That's a little expensive.
That really puts you right up front.
That's where they had the preferred parking for the Taste of Universal, to give you an idea.
Yeah. And the second time, we were actually kind of wish we didn't pay for the preferred parking, because we did eat after the park closed. So we actually had to walk farther for our preferred parking when we left.
But we didn't really plan on staying that late. It just kind of happened, and yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the entrance. So you'll go through the normal security screening. So they'll take your temperature before to get to the screening. You have to take everything off. Ladies with hats on, if you have a ponytail that's poking through the back, they do make you take your hat off and want to see underneath. So that's something to be aware of. And then you go right up to the gate and
you go through. Yeah. You go. It's really simple. It's nothing to worry about. Now they've done something new. Is they do have people buying tickets, and those are out of state residents from out of state.
So yeah, this is a newer thing that we just noticed online, is that if you're a California state resident, you can buy your tickets online and have no problems. If you're out of state, you have to go to the ticket booths and buy your tickets and show them proof of vaccination with your ID, and also you have to be 16 or over to be able to get tickets.
So that's just something to be aware of. This is something new this week, and I could imagine people try to bring those 2-year-olds. They don't have to pay for a ticket. You're not going to be able to.
Yeah, unless you're a California resident. So going through the gates. One time we got there, I would say we got there at 9:15, which it
was really quick.
Yeah, we had no problems going through the gates, but we got there the second time about 9:45.
And it was a huge difference in the amount of people.
We had to wait in line for about 10 minutes just to get into the park, which really isn't all considered bad. It made a big difference in our ride time for the times we came.
The first day we were able to start out, and we went on the Secret Life of Pets off leash, and that's a really cute ride.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and we got right in, and Kim was actually on her phone trying to do the new virtual queue that they have. So if you have the Universal Studios Hollywood app, that you can check and do a virtual queue, get on there, but if it's under 5 minutes, I'm not going to do a virtual queue.
I think it was 15. So it's under 15, 20 minutes. There's no virtual queue. After there's more people, then they start up with a virtual queue.
So we walked right on.
And really, they did an awesome job with the queue and the interactive parts and kind of keeping you busy while you wait in line, because the indoor line is quite a bit. It doesn't, and that's probably because of social distancing. Mm-hmm. It seems to take quite a bit of time to go through.
So a new ride, got to go on it, right on it. I mean, that was great.
Yes.
So from there, that day, we actually got in 3 rides in the first hour.
So we did Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Mm-hmm. And we only waited, 10, 15 minutes for that?
Yeah. And then we also did the Flight of the Hippogriff. Mm-hmm. And that, we pretty much just walked right onto that.
Yes.
So the thing is get there early if you want to get those rides, and get to those rides you really want to right away.
Because they're going to get busy.
Yeah, and we did start noticing our second time we got there at 9:45 that we were able to get on the Mummy about 10 minutes.
It was.
And the times did say 5 minutes for wait time. So
a lot of times when we were in line, we'd realize that those times would get longer and longer. So they're not as good as, once you get in the line, being as accurate
as they were in the past, and that's because of obviously the way they have the space lines and everything else, so they have to judge those times.
They usually used to give lanterns to you when you get into line for some people, and then they would have you give it to a team member when you got up to the end of the line right before you get on the ride, so they could clock that queue. They're not doing that right now, so that kind of makes it a little bit harder to be accurate.
Yeah. So we did notice this on the second ride we went on to, and this is one of the rides that was not open the first week we went to, was Minions.
Minions Mayhem was open this week, so that was really amazing. It was nice. It said it was a 15-minute wait, and then by the time we got on the ride, it said 70 minutes.
And we waited about an hour.
So yeah, it was a long wait.
And by that point, we only got 2 rides in that day for showing up at 9:45 and that time. So it made it, that extra half hour made a huge difference for us.
It did. And once we got in, Minions Mayhem didn't have that first room because they have like 2 pre-show rooms.
Yep.
The first one's closed. The second one, they only have a few parties in there. They're all social distance out and kind of staggered. And then they have the pre-show, which kind of has the safety things in it and kind of explains the ride, so that they haven't cut that out. And then you go into the big amphitheater where the ride is, and they're sitting only 1 family group per vehicle.
And then they also will put some people in the front of the vehicles on one group, and then on another group they'll put them in the back of the vehicle. So they're trying to do like a zigzag and stagger. So they're obviously trying to keep this social distancing. We noticed this in the queue for the safety room. They were trying to keep you social distance everywhere throughout in that building, which was great.
It was.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about more of the rides, and this is going to be over the 2 different days that we went. So we did go on every ride except for one. That was the one that's outside of Minions. I can't remember what's name.
It's in the Super Silly Funland area. It's like the kids one that goes around in a circle. It reminds me of like a Dumbo. We didn't do that one.
And then obviously there are a couple rides that are closed. So all the kids' playgrounds are closed. The Kung Fu Panda is closed, and also Waterworld is closed.
Oh, I hope they bring that back. I miss Waterworld.
So I'd be guessing Waterworld is more based on trying to get the talent back to be able to do the show. So that's something just to be aware if you're going there. And then a lot of these rides have been modified for what they were before. So your queues for Harry Potter is really spaced out, and it's a lot faster going through that queue area inside the buildings trying to get you onto the ride. Far as the Hippogriff, there's not really a change other than just
pretty much every ride, there's only 1 family per vehicle, or it's every other row.
Yeah. For Secret Life of Pets, they only fit 2 people in the cars at a time only. Then for the Mummy, they only did 2 rows
in the vehicle, but it was kind of weird because if they had 2 rows for families in a row, then they would kind of just leave them in the vehicle. It was so they didn't really fill the back 2 rows. They didn't even like skip that 3rd row and do the back row. So that was interesting.
And then for Jurassic Park, they did the same thing.
Yes.
Now the difference are days. When we went there the first day, we didn't do Jurassic Park for one reason, because it was like 60 degrees out. The second day we did, it was 90 degrees out, because you are going to get soaked. And we saw people.
No matter where you sit in Jurassic World, you're going to get soaking wet. It was really refreshing on a 90-degree day.
And it's a ride we haven't ridden.
Most of the time, we're not big water ride people.
Yeah, and we haven't ridden it, and especially when they did the revamp from Jurassic Park to Jurassic World. They added new elements. It's actually a really cool ride.
It is an awesome ride.
But
it is
prepare
amazing.
to get wet, and even when we saw the people when it was 60 degrees out, were soaked.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a lot of fun. Just to clarify, we understand a lot of the country, 60 degrees is warm. To us Californians, under 70 degrees is a little chilly.
A little chilly, and then most people wearing winter coats.
Exactly. But we have a different definition out here.
And then, so other rides is, one of them was open, but we weren't prepared to be open also, was The Simpsons.
Which was cool because, once again, that front room, they didn't do the big show in front.
That queue where you line up, you have all the little video screens on the side. They didn't have you go through there. They went into the separate rooms for the safety brief.
So it's just your group. So just Brad and I had that one room where they put you in and you watch a safety video, which that was kind of cool. That worked out well.
It's the first time we actually been in those rooms where we weren't crowded with 3 other people in there when it was just been me and Kim. So that was nice. Other rides were...
we did Transformers our first time. And same thing. We're the only ones in our vehicle. They were telling us that it was kind of interesting, and we're going to give our team members shout out for the first week to Fran, because I looked back and I noticed that they were spraying down the vehicle and cleaning it. I said, oh, it's great. You're doing it between every vehicle. And she goes, no, actually it is when somebody lowers their mask, they have cameras everywhere, and they have to take that vehicle out of service, spray it down, and then let it go through once without anybody on it.
So there's one.
And they disinfect in the mornings and throughout the day, but when something like that happens, then they have to clean it again.
Yeah, and they were disinfecting a lot of the rides, just spraying them down the handballs and the common touch points.
But it was nice she took the time to explain that to us.
Yeah, because we did actually see that on Transformers, and we did see it on The Mummy as well. because somebody took their mask off and they have to take that right out of surface for one. So there's a tip there. Please leave your mask on because it could delay.
It backs up the whole day.
And
for everybody.
When we're talking about wait times, we did every ride. We did everything like we told you. We didn't do the animal show. Unfortunately, we just didn't.
The live action.
Didn't have time.
Yeah.
But most of the wait times we're seeing, by the time it hit 11 o'clock, were between 80 and 100 minutes long.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. The one thing they do before you get on every ride is they have one team member assigned to disinfecting your hands. So they spray you down with the spray, you rub. So that was kind of I loved having that.
And the spray is actually really gentle on your hands. It doesn't dry it out. It wasn't not a problem for us. My hands were drying out from using the normal hand sanitizer. This was not doing that.
Exactly. And then they have rides that have lockers like The Mummy, The Revenge of the Mummy, or Harry Potter's Forbidden Journey. They have somebody, before you go into the locker, spraying down your hands before you go in. And the touch screens, periodically, they go in, clean those. So that was kind of a nice thing.
Yeah, and they do have some lockers that are shut off so that you can't use them. So something to be aware of.
So it's not overcrowded in those small locker rooms. Yeah. Oh, and one of the other things with cleaning is for the escalators going to the lower lots, they literally had a team member with a rag that just would clean the whole cycle through to make sure those handrails were periodically cleaned.
Yeah, so they were doing a lot of cleaning. So another thing you may be wondering about is food. I mean, you're at a theme park all day, you're going to get hungry, right?
So the first thing we'll say is when you check out or kind of pay for your food and go to the cashier, they hand you a prepackaged utensils or plastic and have a single napkin in there.
Yeah, and so the first time Kim went there and she got ribs at 3 broomsticks.
Okay, that's kind of hard with one napkin.
Yeah, actually they have wipes at 3 broomsticks outside so you can wipe down the tables if they're not clean. They're disinfecting. We actually had to use one of those for her hands.
Yeah.
And then
it got messy.
I got bangers and mash, so it wasn't a big issue. Only issue I had were my peas were a little cold. But other than that, it's actually a nice area to go sit down. And here's another tip. If you get a butterbeer from the butterbeer cart up front, go into that back area and sit down and have a drink there. Because if the other tables are full, it's actually pretty quiet back there.
So my ribs were okay. The potatoes that came with it were excellent. And it came with a ear of corn, but they don't give you butter. Yeah. So I didn't go and ask for one. I could have, but I just kind of that's the kind of thing that they should give you a little pat of butter with.
So as far as my food, the bangers and mash were good. It's like I said earlier, the peas were cold. I don't have a problem getting that again. Your rib plate was huge.
It was a huge portion. We definitely could have split it. I couldn't finish it all. I also got the pumpkin fizz, which I would pass on. It kind of tasted like a pumpkin spice drink, which was great, but it was cold and carbonated, and it just tastes funny to me. And I'm sure there's some people that love it. Just wasn't my cup of tea per se. I much prefer the butterbeer, the frozen butterbeer. I've never tried it hot.
I liked it. We both got it the second time. So we did get some desserts. So the desserts there were okay.
Okay.
I'll show you right now. There wasn't really anything too special about them.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan, but you know, some people like it.
Mine was okay, but
I'm more of a chocolate person. I love a good chocolate cake or some chocolatey dessert.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more too. Following a week later, we ended up going to Jurassic Cafe, and this is where we learned one of our tips. So we both ordered our meals, and we didn't realize at the cashiers you can ask for extra napkins, and they gave us extra napkins.
It was. So the one thing, we both ended up getting the slow roasted Mojo pork, which was amazing. I loved it.
That was probably the better of all the meals that we've had there.
At Universal, I think that's one of the best meals I've had.
And it was a good sized portion, and the cost wasn't that much. It was the right thing for that lunch for that day.
Yeah, and it comes with a little corn cake. It looks like a corn pancake, and then the
beans, the pork, and everything else.
Yeah, it was all on top, and it was really good. It was really filling. It says that it comes with it had a lime crema on top. It came with a fresco queso on top. They had a chimichurri cranberry sauce. I tasted the chimichurri. I didn't really taste the cranberry.
Yeah, I didn't either, but I could taste just a little bit of that cranberry bite, I think. But it wasn't enough to, even if you don't like cranberries, you're not going to taste the cranberries.
And I'm not the biggest cranberry fan, so I didn't even really realize that was in it until after I read the description. And I loved it.
But that I would order again. And that's one Eric Cafe that's nice for a couple of reasons. One is if you don't want to eat inside, there's actually a patio up the stairs to go eat. And that's a nice area. There's usually not a whole lot of people there. And it's quiet.
It is, and they have a lot of shaded areas, so it's nice to get out of the sun, relax, just kind of take a moment. It's a little bit more peaceful.
And then again, the desserts.
We got a Tres Leches chocolate cake, and
it wasn't anything like any of us expected. It just tasted like a chocolate cake.
So if you're used to a traditional Tres Leches cake, it doesn't taste like Tres Leches.
It doesn't have that juicy,
It doesn't have that milky, rich flavor. It tastes like a chocolate cake.
So it
was okay.
But as a place to go to, I think that would be a good place to go to. Even if you would want Chinese food and somebody else in your group wants something else.
You could go over to Panda Express, bring the food back over.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a nice thing. Is there's actually like 3 restaurants right there that you could choose from. But I really like their menu because they've got a tropical chicken salad. They have burgers. They have, what was the other one? Oh, they had a barbecue brisket on their menu.
Yeah. They had a
sandwich.
whole bunch. They had quite a bit of choices.
Yeah. So I kind of liked those choices they had there. And honestly, I think it would be one of my favorite restaurants.
So also, it's something we forgot to tell you. We did go on the studio tour. Now, this is the thing about going on a weekday like we did. They are probably going to be filming.
Oh, okay. Yes, because a lot of the backlot set tours, like the New York area and all that, was all being used to film. So if you wanted to see all the sets, because, capacity is at 25% right now. So it doesn't matter if you go on a weekday versus weekend. It's all the same, but you might get more out of the studio tour.
Yeah, and so they were filming the new American Gladiator and also a whole bunch of different TV shows at the time on those weekdays. Just so that
and one time we didn't get to go back to the
Wisteria Lane.
Where it's called Old America or Colonial America.
The Colonial Houses.
Yeah, so those houses back where they filmed Desperate Housewives and the Munsters and some of those things. If you like to kind of go over in that area on the tram ride, right now they said Mindy Kipling was filming a Netflix show there, so we couldn't go over there.
Yeah, there was also one big noticeable subtraction from that.
What?
No more Whoville.
Oh, Whoville, yes. I've heard it's due because it was fading in the sun a little bit. Oh, so what's that going to mean for Grinchmas? They took down a whole set. They used to have the Grinch or a celebrity read the Grinch. So it's kind of like, does that mean they're not going to have the Grinchmas and Christmas type? Or are they going to redo and come up with a new creative idea? They put some of the picture cars, the prop cars from movies down there. It's so over. I think that's underwhelming compared to what was there
before. Yeah. So something to be aware of. It's gone. Sorry.
And Norman doesn't come out and do a little skit from the Psycho or Bates Motel anymore.
And that could be more that's just because of capacity issue at this time. So hopefully he comes. Hopefully we'll see Norman back.
Yeah, no, Norman. That's kind of strange because it's kind of fun to watch.
So if you're finding this video helpful, please like, subscribe,
and follow along with our Ohana.
Okay, let's get back into some of the final things that we've noticed. Speaking of Grinchmas and special events, we actually talked to one of the team members at Guest Services that told us they actually had Halloween Horror Nights all built and ready to go last year.
Oh, that's actually kind of worse to hear that they were all ready to go. And
but there's some good news to us.
They're already building the sets for this year, all the mazes, which they're hoping that means that they'll be able to go forward with it. They haven't heard. There's no official releases about that, but the team member, and I give this a little bit more grain of salt and a little bit more weight, is this was actually said to us at Guest Services. It wasn't just some team member walking around saying it. So that's a pretty reliable that they are going ahead and actually planning and building. And so maybe we'll hear an announcement after that June 15th.
Please.
We love Halloween Horror Nights.
And then, so what else would you need to know?
Well, we're going to do a whole other video. There is such thing as a Universal Express Pass. We're going to talk about it in our next video.
If it's worth it, because we do have some experience with it, because our annual passes have Express Pass attached to it with the Platinum.
So is it really kind of going to be worth it in these times with only 25% capacity in the parks?
So be on the lookout for that. And then also is another thing, the last thing we did learn is that you can go out of the park and re-enter the park at the same day.
So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, because we actually asked because we wanted to take Hayden with us, but unfortunately he doesn't get out of school till later. We could have gone down, got out, and got him and brought him back with us with the reservation, of course. And
So that would have been kind of a nice day. Because they've been, as annual pass holders there, they've been giving us these bonus days, they're calling them, which has been really nice. So we've gotten to go twice without actually having to pay our monthly annual pass fee.
And then,
so that won't restart until this month.
Another thing to be aware of is the weekends. We looked at this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
All
They're
sold out.
all sold out, and hours do change on the weekends compared to the weekdays. So weekday closes at 6 on the weekends. The hours are a little bit later.
Yeah, it was really nice. The team members were really helpful. We actually, Brad and I went at the end of the day just to get a snack, and we went to Hollywood and Dine, and
I got a funnel cake with strawberries on it, and I asked for ice cream, but with the plexiglass mask and everything, the ice cream got lost somewhere in that.
Yeah, he added on the strawberries, and I just don't think she heard that, or maybe she didn't. So, kind of, I guess the manager, Charles, just said go ahead and give it to him. So thank you, Charles. You're also one of our team members. Shout outs today.
Yeah. So, with that, was it worth going?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we had a great time. I would almost say, even if you've never been to Universal Studios Hollywood before, you still almost get that full experience.
It was, especially probably on weekends when it's open later. It's a better choice, especially because the capacity is so low compared to when things change. We think maybe yellow tier, we're going to hear some new announcements. And definitely from what has been kind of foreshadowed is that June 15th, we're probably going to completely open up.
Yeah, so tips are to look at the app, look at Universal's website, and just be prepared to go and have a good time. So with that, I think it's time for us to say goodbye and
Find your magic. Bye, everyone.